Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Makenzie, and we are talking about all things confidence, mindset, and creating unrealistic success as we always do. Today's episode is really about body confidence, but it's so much more than that. And I think what's really going to be beautiful about this episode is that you can apply what I am teaching here to money, to your career, to your relationship, and so many other aspects of life. But I'm going to be focusing it in on body confidence and really specifically changing your body itself. That's going to be our main focus. I have talked to so many beautiful, beautiful people over the years. And one thing that I often see happen with people is that I have a lot of people who come to me who they're not in the stages necessarily, some are, of hating their body. They're not the person who is looking at the mirror in disgust every single day, who just really wishes they could have this entirely different body, who is shaming themselves. And if you are, that's okay. That is absolutely where I started. And now I have just such a beautiful relationship with my body, and I respect my body, and I love my body. So it doesn't matter if you're there. Don't put too much weight into that. But what I see a lot of people come to me with is that they're okay with their body. They have this mediocre relationship with their body. A lot of them think they don't need body confidence until they enter my world or they join Audacious and they start to, dip their toes in that module. And then they're like, oh shit, I actually really do want to change my relationship with my body. So a lot of people are coming in just from this place of like, yeah, I'm okay with my body, or, I wish I had a bit of a different body, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not my biggest focus right now. But I think often what ends up happening through that is we almost neglect our relationship with our body because it's not our biggest focus. And what I'll see happen with a lot of people is that they'll just mention little things here or there. And if this is you, let's absolutely talk about it. Come DM me about it. I would love to discuss with you. But they just won't wear certain things. There's certain things that they're like, oh, I could just never wear that with my body type. Or they'll avoid shopping for clothes because it's not an enjoyable experience. But at the root of that is usually that there's some sort of body image thing going on with it. Or special events end up becoming kind of stressful because it means they have to shop or they have to find something perfect to wear, because at the end of the day and at the root of it, they just don't feel like they're going to look good enough. Or I'll see a lot, people will take photos but just not like how they look in photos. And I have told this story before, I'll tell it again, that my mom, just to give you context and where I started, my mom still doesn't let me hold her phone. This has been years since I've done this, but what I used to do when I was younger, and I'm talking like middle school, I would do this. Middle school, all through high school, honestly, even in college, I would exercise this, where if a photo of me was taken on my mom's phone, I would go and either in secret or very rapidly, as soon as she took it, I would go delete the photo. And this is before iPhones had that like recently deleted album. It was like, once you delete it, it was gone. So I would just delete the photo because I didn't like how I looked. I thought I looked fat. I thought my arms looked bad. I thought I was making a weird face. I thought I looked, I don't know. I didn't look as good as I wanted to look. And so I would go delete the photo. And so now, from years of me doing that, she doesn't let me take her phone and she doesn't let me hold her phone. And it doesn't matter that I literally teach people around the world how to be confident now. That does not go through her beautiful skull because she's so traumatized from her child taking and deleting photos. So there's a lot of phases of my life where I don't have as many photos as my mom would want me to have. And that's actually really sad and it breaks my heart. But there's just not as many photos of me. I know for a fact you could not find a photo of me from when I had headgear. I had headgear, and if anyone doesn't know what headgear is, when I had some messed up teeth. So what I had was at night, and when I had braces, I would have to put pieces of metal in my mouth, and you'd put a strap around my neck. So literally like shit from Hollywood that you see, where they'd make fun of those goofy kids who had like metal around their mouth or metal head and then a strap in the back. That was me. And you cannot find a photo of it with me. And you know what? In retrospect, I wish I did, because it's funny. And I tell this story and people are like, oh my God, I want to see it. But there's no photo evidence of it. Because I was so ashamed and embarrassed of how I looked. And I only had to wear it at night, but still. So my mom to this day, if I take her phone, is like, Makenzie, no, you don't delete photos. And I'm like, Mom. Or really how I say it, I'm like, Ma. I'm like, I'm not deleting your photos, chill, stop it. I'm just looking at it. And so honestly, she doesn't take great photos either. So some of it, I would say, is just her photo taking skills are lacking. But this is what I mean of, if you might not be that extreme, but that's where I started. And how I see it with a lot of people today is they just don't like how they look in photos, or they have a really hard time choosing the right photos to post on Instagram because they want to make sure they look the best. Or, oh my God, this one can drive me up goddamn wall. But my best friend, she doesn't do it, but she has other friends who they edit the shit out of their bodies before posting it on Instagram. And if you do that, I don't want you to do that, not because it's bad or it's wrong or pathetic or whatever, but like, I just want you to like your body and accept your body enough that you don't feel the need to lie and present something different. Like, these girls are going and they're literally taking apps and shrinking what their body looks like in the photos. And my friend will call me and be like, this like part of their photo is warped because they're editing their body so much. And it just drives me insane because it's like, there's so many better solutions, whether it's changing your body from a place of self-respect or it's accepting your body so that you don't feel the need to do that. And that's obviously a more extreme case. Or what I'll see is people going through, and I'm just, let me say this too. I'm naming all these things so that you can see of like, I don't want you to have just a mediocre relationship with your body. I want you to have an insanely healthy, loving, respectful relationship with your body, because your body, it's not just your body. It affects so many aspects of your life, from socially to your career to how much money you earn. Not saying like you need a certain body to do those things, but the relationship you have with your body affects how you do those things. So another way that I'll see this show up is with eating healthy. People will kind of they'll almost have this mentality of like, well, why? It doesn't really matter. Like, why bother? Because they don't actually believe they can have the body they want anyway. So they maintain certain habits that are almost sabotaging the results that they do want with their body. I will talk to so many clients about this one, is that they want to build healthier habits. They always come to me and they're like, Makenzie, I want to start cooking at home more. I want to get to 80% eating really, really clean. I want to have a solid workout routine. I just want to be a little bit better. I want to be more disciplined with it. But they've said that. Like, I literally had a conversation today with a client where she's like, I've said this shit for a year, Makenzie, and I've not done anything about it. And I want this to be the time that I change it. That is really common. And if that's you, you still need this episode. I still want you to pay attention to this episode, okay? And so generally, it's just like, if body confidence isn't like this blatant issue for you, I find that a lot of people end up putting it on the back burner. I don't want that. I want you to be able to prioritize it, to have it be a big priority for you, because to be honest, your body is the one thing that will always be constant in your life. It is the one thing that will go wherever you go. It's something you absolutely will always have a relationship with. And the hard truth is, you might not always have a relationship with certain people in your life. You might not always have the certain career. You might not always be in the same place. The one thing that is always constant is a relationship with your body. So it's a really big effing deal. Like, it actually is. And I think a lot of people just kind of take it for granted, ignore it, or just settle. They settle for mediocrity. They settle for good enough. They settle for, I have a really good body, but it's not as good of a body that I really am wanting. So I just think it's important for us to talk about in this episode. The first thing that I'll say, and that I kind of want to just dive into, and this is the first lesson that is absolutely relevant to any facet of your life that you're wanting to create more confidence in or create unrealistic success in. And that is the idea that your self-image acts as the parameters for what is possible. If you picture your self-image as a certain amount of area, or like a fenced-in area, it's almost like the outlines of a box. However you see yourself and however you regard yourself and picture yourself, anything that is in line with your self-image is possible to you. But anything that is outside of how you see yourself no longer becomes as available or possible. Your self-image truly acts as the parameters for what is and is not possible. This happens so much with body image, and people just don't even realize it. They realize it more when it's with other topics, but with body, they kind of just ignore it. Where if you don't believe it's possible, whether you've chalked it up to genetics, or I just don't have that kind of discipline, or simply just like, it's not going to happen to me, when it comes to your body, you won't. And I have friends and people in my life who they've decided that they can never be or never have their ideal body. They either picture themselves as the too skinny of a girl, or they picture themselves as the like thick boned guy, or they picture themselves as I'm just the bigger girl. And because that is their self-image, that is the body that they will have until they change their self-image. And stuff like this, it makes me sad because I also was that person where I was like, I'm just never going to look this way, or I'm never going to look that way, or it's like impossible for me to have, I don't know, that jawline. And it's not, but because you see yourself that way and you're regarding yourself that way, that is the way it will be. And I've done this. I have personally done this. And I've also had so many people do this, of clients who come to me, or even people in my life where it's not for a lack of trying. It's not like they're not trying to change their body. They are working out insanely consistently. They are trying to eat healthier. They are doing all of the things that they think they need to do to get the body they want. It's not like they're just walking around being like, I can't have it, so I'm not going to do anything about it. There's been so many, I'll just talk about me. There's been so many phases of my life where I want the body. I'm putting in the work. I'm doing the things, but it doesn't necessarily happen. So for me, one of my stories that I've always had for so long is like, yeah, I can lose weight. I can have a good body, but it's never the body I'm actually picturing. So I could get myself all the way up to that parameter of self-image. I'd stretch it even a little further than it could go. And then it's almost like my body would bounce back. And I never quite get there because I never actually thought that I could. And that's what people will do, is that if you have the story of, let's just take one of the examples that I said. If you have the story of I'm always the bigger girl, like I'm always just going to be the bigger girl, I'm never going to be able to have that kind of body that I want, it's just not me. Then no matter how hard you actually try, you will find yourself still probably being to some degree that person, because that's what you believe yourself to be. So you will self-sabotage, you will pull back, you will not see things all the way through, or to the degree that you really want to, because of that. And I so strongly believe, and I talk about this inside of Audacious, that when people have these massive body transformations, they're also having massive self-image transformations. They're also having massive identity or self-concept transformations, because that's often what is needed. And there's so many studies about this. That's often what's required to also have these bigger body transformations. And that leads me to the second point that I want to talk about. I have a video on this inside of Audacious. It's something that we talk about a lot when it comes to transforming your body. And it's this idea that you are in a relationship with your body. You have a relationship with your body. And people might be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But we're often not treating it that way. We so often, even in just the language that we have around our bodies, act as if it's a one-way street. You'll be like, oh, I'm so bloated. I like wish I wasn't so bloated. But the reality is that you probably did something that is making your body respond with bloating, right? Or people will shit on their body in the mirror. They'll be like, oh, I don't look that good. Or people will say like, guess this is as good as it's going to get. Like, you have a one-way street with your body. And I want you to start picturing it as if you have a relationship with your body. When you think about a romantic relationship, let's say, if you were in a romantic relationship and let's say your boyfriend, your girlfriend comes out dressed a certain way, or like they come out ready for dinner, and you speak to him or her the same way you might speak about yourself in the mirror, your body in the mirror, and you're like, oh, you just look like shit. You just don't look good. Like, doesn't matter what the fuck you wear, like you're not gonna look good tonight. They probably wouldn't be with you. Like, I don't know, that person should absolutely not stay with you, but that's what you're doing to yourself and your body. Or if I stick on this bloated example, it's like, if your body could speak back as if it were a human, as if you actually had a relationship with it, you might be pissed off and upset and feeling resentful towards your body for always being bloated, but your body might say something back like, no shit, bitch. You keep drinking a bunch of alcohol every weekend, emotional eating every night, eating shit that I keep trying to tell you does not sit well with me. Like, it doesn't feel good. I cannot tolerate it. but you keep doing it. So I'm going to keep being bloated. But like, I don't know, maybe your body's dramatic, clearly, but you're often just picturing as if it is a one-way street. You're taking your body for granted rather than actually seeing it as something that you have a relationship with. And starting to see my body as if I had a relationship with it really had me acting up real quick. And I'm saying not just like listening to this concept and understanding it and be like, okay, that's what Makenzie said, but truly embodying it, acting as if you had this relationship. If you did that, how you treated your body, spoke to your body, and regarded your body would very likely have to shift fast. It's the same way as if, let's say you want to manifest this really great relationship, you're not going to start being an asshole to the people that you're dating. If you really want this relationship, you're going to be your best self in order to manifest the relationship. It's the same way with your body. If you really want this insane body or just an insane relationship with your body, you're going to have to show up as the version who respects your body, who shows up and really is good to your body, who speaks kindly to your body, who fuels your body from a place of wanting a good relationship with it, rather than this like me, selfish, one-way street that I absolutely used to do. And I know so many people really currently have that kind of relationship with their bodies. And the third concept that I really want to chat about with this, and you know what, I think we're just going to do a second episode on this because there's just a lot I have to say, and I want to get it all to you guys. But the last thing that I'll say, and we really deep dive into this inside of Audacious, it's basically the whole body confidence module of like, how do you actually do this? How do you do it more from just not just a concept, but live it out, embody it, and take that action towards it. But this third idea that I really want to talk about is acting as if when it comes to your body. Something that I see is that, especially when people want to change their bodies or they're not super happy, like if you're not absolutely elated with the direction that your body's going and how the speed of how it's getting there and just your body in general, you're very much needing this concept. And what I see happen all the time is that people think that once they have the body they want, then they'll be really confident in their bodies. Then they'll feel really good about their bodies. And in the meantime, they just settle for what we've been talking about, which is this mediocre relationship with their body. But what a lot of people they might logically understand, but they're not emotionally living, is that so long as you have a mediocre relationship with your body, or it's good and like quote unquote good enough, your actions will reflect that quote unquote good enough. You'll just do good enough actions. You'll have mediocre actions, which means that it's going to be very hard to get the stellar, impressive physique that you're wanting because you keep just settling for good enough or mediocre. And you cannot have this mediocre relationship, this mediocre perspective on your body, or feel like my body's just okay and have these stellar habits. It's just really hard because it doesn't add up. The thing that I have learned to do and that has been so helpful, so beneficial, and has absolutely transformed my body is learning how to act as if I already have the body that I want now. Doing this is the exact way, I'm so serious. What I'm about to talk about is the exact way that I went from periods of gaining and losing 15 pounds. I always used to do this. I used to yo-yo up 15 and lose 15, and I couldn't hold it. And I was just constantly, I didn't have a bad body. I've never had a bad body. So many people who think they have bad bodies don't, but I was just so not happy with my body. I felt like I wasn't muscular enough. I wasn't toned enough. I was just okay. And so what would happen is I would gain 15 pounds and it would be 15 pounds of fat gained. And then I would try and lose it. But even when I lost it, I didn't feel as muscular as I wanted to. And I just couldn't get out of this cycle of shaming myself into gaining weight and shaming myself trying to lose the weight. It was all fueled by shame. The way I got out of the 15 to honestly 20 pounds fluctuation that I used to have is learning how to act as if I already had the body I wanted. My weight has been completely stable ever since learning how to do this. And even this year, I was able to lose, I think it was about 7 pounds, and I really leaned out. My face has leaned out. My arms have leaned out. I've dropped pant sizes from even amping this up even further this year. Like, I'm happily actually at a point where none of my pants fit me. And I guess I don't talk about these things on the internet, so you wouldn't see it, but none of my pants fit me right now. I have to wear a belt with pretty much every outfit. And I've just procrastinated going to the tailor to get my pants hemmed or taken in or whatnot, whatever you call it. And it's such a nice problem to have because I'm just getting closer and closer to the ideal body that I'm wanting. So this is what I mean as acting as if you already have the body that you want. One of the things that we talk about in Audacious is kind of this idea of like, if you had the ideal body that you wanted, how would you be speaking to yourself in the mirror? Or if you had the ideal body you wanted, how would you be eating? Like, what kind of eating habits would you have had to get you there? Or when it comes to standards that you've had with your body, like, is your standard just that you hit 10,000 steps? Or is your standard that you wake up at 7 a.m.? Is your standard that you don't scroll in bed? And yes, all of these things, especially the scrolling in bed and shit, that affects your body. It's not just what you eat in your fitness. It's so much deeper than that. It's in your self-respect. It's in your self-belief. It's in all of this. But I want you to think of like, if I really genuinely had my ideal body, what would be a really fun, exciting, expansive way that I would have created that? Not a place of deprivation, not a place of shame, not a place of like this intense shit that would feel actually quite awful to you. If you could have your ideal body, which you can, from a place of really enjoying the process, how would you be doing it? What would these things and decisions be that you'd be making? The thing that I honestly think people ignore the most, that's most important, that I focus on the most, is how would I speak to my body? How would I regard my body? And this is the part that people fight the most because it doesn't make the most sense based on what we've been taught and based on more of like typical health and nutrition areas. People want to think about the eating. They want to think about the workouts and all of that. But if we go back to the first thing I talked about in this episode, your self-image becomes the parameters for what's possible, right? Bringing it back full circle to that, which is why I think it's most important to first look at how would I speak to my body? How would I think about my body? How would I regard my body in the mirror if I had my ideal body? So one of the things is that, for example, earlier this year when I lost those 7 pounds, and I talk about this in Audacious too, of like, I tell the story of my parents saw me 1 month and they didn't say anything about my body. And they saw me literally exactly a month later. And they were making comments of like, I can't believe how good you look. What have you changed? You look so much slimmer. Like, holy hell, your face is, they were giving me all these compliments and it was only a month apart. What I really did was work on this to the max. I worked the nervous system regulation inside of Audacious. I worked the self-talk tracks, which we have, which is literally tracks that you can play to shift your self-talk. I worked all the tools that I have in there. One of the things that I really realized before doing the work to lose the 7 or 8 pounds is that if I had my ideal body, I would be looking in the mirror every day and being like, wow, I look insane. Like, I'm so proud of how I look and I look so lean and I'm just really happy that I've created this for myself. So what did I do? I started thinking that way now, before I had a single change in my body. What I was doing is rewriting the parameters of my self-image. I was shifting my self-image through my self-talk. And when you shift your self-image, what happens? You will also shift the actions that you take. So it's not like I'm just like saying nice things to myself in the mirror and I lost all this weight. No. I also changed my habits, but they changed not because I was trying to force a habit change, which is what most people do, but I was changing my self-image and my standards and therefore my self-respect and everything, the actions I took, my diet, blah, 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 all aligned with it. I've had so many beautiful clients lose 30 pounds, have to buy whole new wardrobes because they're finally losing the weight that they've tried to lose for years. I've had clients go from almost completely inactive to becoming people who are like 20,000 steps a day and it's like easy for them. And they once thought that 10,000 was going to like kill them. So all of this happens because of the concepts that we're really teaching about when you shift your self-image, when you shift your confidence, when you stop settling for this mediocre, good enough relationship and start to see yourself as someone who can have the dream body, who can have all this health. That's when these things start to shift. And I'll say too, I should have talked about this the whole episode. And if you've listened to this far, amazing, you'll catch the end of it. But I've also had so many people reverse autoimmune diseases. I've had people reverse alopecia. I've had people reverse things in their body that they were told that it was impossible. They couldn't reverse it. It just is what it is. Through really shifting their self-image and therefore their standards and how they treat their body. And they started realizing that it's not just their bodies against them. It's not their body sucks. It's not their genetics suck. Even if they actually might be handed a harder set of cards on this. Once they realize that I'm in a relationship with my body and I'm going to start actually acting like it. I'm going to start treating it with respect. I'm going to start treating it as if it were the most important relationship in my life. I'm going to start treating it as if this relationship with my body affects my career. It affects my earning potential. It affects my friendships. It affects my social life. It affects all these things, which it does. That's how they've been able to reverse symptoms of PCOS and all these crazy, beautiful things from really taking what we teach seriously from this episode and also what they get inside of Audacious. If this episode inspires you to do anything, I hope that it inspires you to really claim that so much more is possible for you and your body. Whether it's that reversing symptoms that you're not liking and feeling even healthier, whether it's that you want to go run a marathon or hike Mount Everest and you're taking this seriously, whether it's just changing your body so you are obsessed with it and feel so good in it, I really hope that you see that you don't have to just settle for, like I'm confident enough, like I'm good enough for my body. Like you can have an insane relationship with your body. And it doesn't matter where you've started. Again, I started with eating disorders. I started with shaming my body. I started with all these very intense, heavy things. And I'm not that person anymore because of this work. So I hope this has helped you. I hope you got something from this. I would love to hear what came up for you. If there's anything that came up, if there's anything you want to talk about, absolutely come DM me on Instagram. I would love to chat with you about it and see how I can help even further. But thank you for listening. If you love this, I would so appreciate if you took a screenshot and shared it on your stories and just tag me so that people can hear about the podcast, so they can get more confident, so they can create unrealistic success, or telling people in your life about it, just sharing with someone who you want to win with you. But thank you for being here. I hope you loved it, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.